Yo, welcome back to another edition of the Orange Bloods Texas Football Channel. I'm Jeff Ketchum. No Anwar Richardson, no Ari Temkin with me today. It's just little old me talking about the latest with TCU defensive end edge rusher transfer, Ochaun Mathis. We're going to have the lowdown on where the Longhorns sit, who else is the competition after he announces his top five on Thursday. But I do want to mention that if you are in the market for starting a business of your own, creating your own franchise, our guy, Andy Lepke from myperfectfranchise.net is the guy that you need to contact. They are the sponsor of this video. And the bottom line is his goal, what he does is he helps people like yourself who might be watching this video and wanting to start his own business and wanting to start his own franchise and doing something out of his own so that he doesn't ever have to work for anybody ever again. He shows them how he does that, how they can do that, how they can empower themselves to become the business leaders and the business owners that they've always wanted to be. He's been a huge hit on orangebloods.com. He's got a bunch of stuff going on with all of the other rivals, big sites across the SEC and throughout the map. The bottom line is go check out myperfectfranchise.net, and Andy can help you become that person that you want to become potentially in terms of owning your own business, starting your own franchise. Okay, so let's talk about Ochaun Mathis a little bit. He has, since the very moment he entered the portal, been a guy that has been future casted / crystal balled for Texas. It makes a lot of sense. He plays at a huge position of need when you think about, I think there are two holes on this Texas defense that if they could get them filled, I think we're talking about a Texas defense that's got a chance to be a lot better. Edge rusher is one of them. Inside linebacker next to the Marvion Overshown is the other. Ochaun Mathis has a chance to be the answer, or at least a partial answer to maybe the biggest, that edge rusher, that pass rush that the Longhorns lacked. They've lacked it. I don't even know. We look back at what Joseph Osai represented 2 years ago. I don't even know that he was consistently the pass rush that the Texas Longhorns have needed. He just wasn't consistent enough. This has been an area of concern. Even when you go back to a guy like Charles Omenihu, who's playing in the NFL right now and was a guy that was a borderline double-digit sack guy. I don't know that the Longhorns from a pass rush standpoint have had exactly what they want all the time. And one of the cool things that Ochaun Mathis represents for them is a chance, if you combine him with a guy like Justice Finkley or a Jamont Tapp or any of the number of newcomers that the Longhorns have in place, or even a guy like Ovi Ogofu, if you think about him in that spot, being a guy that 2 seasons ago for TCU was a double-digit sack guy kind of guy. Those numbers fell off a little bit last year, which is one of the reasons why he's still looking to play another season of college ball instead of heading off to the NFL. Texas, I think, offers him the platform to take his game to the next level. He fits a huge position of need. Ultimately, the question that every Texas fan wants to have answered is where Texas sits on his list of 5. He announces a top 5 yesterday on Twitter: Texas, USC, Ole Miss, Penn State, and Nebraska. Of that group, I think right now it's safe to say that Texas is the betting favorite. He is still setting up visits. There's still potentially a lot left in his recruitment, but I think at this stage, the Longhorns are a program that the other schools involved believe is the team to beat. Now, I think USC and Ole Miss, from what I've heard, are probably the 2 schools that will give Texas the biggest battle. It's interesting that Ole Miss at the moment, and this could change. It's interesting. This wasn't announced as a final 5. It was listed as a top 5. And I think there's still room throughout the offseason if the schools want to get involved in his recruitment. I think there's still room and some flexibility of who can move in and move out. USC and Ole Miss right now, the 2 that I think will battle Texas the most. Ole Miss, the only SEC school on that list. Now, there's some questions about whether or not a former teammate of his at TCU will end up at Ole Miss. And if that happens, might you see a package deal? Obviously, Zach Evans, the running back, also transferred to Ole Miss. So you've got Ole Miss making some inroads into the TCU pipeline, if you will. Who would have thought we would ever necessarily be talking about that? USC, I think that's an easy one. They're a team that is high profile. They are a team that has Lincoln Riley as its coach. They are a team that is expected now all of a sudden immediately to be one of the nation's best teams with the transfers that they've had come in, with Lincoln Riley's reputation as a winner. The expectation is that USC will be really good. And if you're a guy like Ochaun Mathis and you have a big season at USC and they have a big season, you can see where your stock could go up quite a bit. I think what's interesting about USC and Ole Miss is they have both really been heavily involved in the transfer game. So they have their recruitment pitches down. They have messaging and all of that stuff. I think a school like Nebraska becomes really interesting from a playing time standpoint. I think that you'll see Nebraska pitch to Ochaun Mathis. The runway is clear if you want to land here. There's not a lot of guys that can keep you off the field. And maybe that's not necessarily the case elsewhere, where there are at least warm bodies. It feels like in listening to Nebraska, people talk about Ochaun Mathis, that they don't even have warm bodies right now that they feel like are high level players. So, they're pitching to him. You can take all of the snaps. And you do wonder, what does that mean for a school like Texas, who I think they will have some players who want to, Ochaun Mathis, I don't think comes into Texas and takes 100% of the reps. Not when you consider the freshman class that the Longhorns have signed, not when you consider the fact that they've got a guy like Ovie Oghoufo coming back from a year ago, who is a pretty good player and has played a lot of football. And I think you can project him to play quite a few snaps in 2022. So I don't know. We'll see how it goes. But the bottom line is, as things stand going into, late February, the Longhorns are considered the favorite with Ochaun Mathis. He lists his top 5 yesterday. The Longhorns right in the middle of that. And if things don't change, expect that the Longhorns and USC will be the primary competition, with Penn State and Nebraska having more work to do. But that's been your Ochaun Mathis update. Wasn't quite sure how to wrap that up. Do me a solid. Like the video, subscribe to the channel if you haven't already done that. Get notifications and know that on Monday, we'll have the Monday Overreaction Show brought to you by Rogue Apothecary, where we will be doing all of the overreacting. Anwar and myself, probably the most popular show that we do, along with the Orange Bloods modcast here on the Orange Bloods YouTube channel. But until next week, until Monday, you guys take care of each other. Be good. And we'll talk to you soon. Later. All right. Now I want to introduce my son, because he wants to do a YouTube video. So this is Hendrix Ketchum. Hendrix, come on in. He has been wanting to create his own YouTube video. This is like a big deal for him, right? You want your own channel? Yeah. What are you going to call it?
I whisper. You could tell him, but I'll just whisper.
Okay, you whisper. Hendrix Mystery K is what he wants to call it. You can see, come on back. You can see that he's incredibly excited about all of this. What's going to be on your channel?
A bunch of road trip and build videos, and a little bit of
Minecraft, road trips,
and some builds that I want to show off,
and some building stuff that you make that you want to show off.
Yeah,
it's coming down the pipeline, or down the pike, if you will. This is Hendrix Ketchum. He's the future star of YouTube. He'll be taking YouTube over in the next year or two. Say goodbye.
Bye.
Later, guys.